The third broad silo, which probably is to me the most interesting, is true discovery, generative discovery. And there we're essentially trying to find out that if you have a target, whatever it might be, some protein that is not working normally in a cancer cell, can one develop a medicine that will change the activity of that protein? In other words, we are trying to create a new pharmacopoeia of chemicals, potentially of chemicals that have never been created before in human history, to address these very complex diseases. Allied to that is, once we have those proteins, what is the best clinical trial that one can run so that you can get the maximum benefit from this drug?
And so how was that developed?
So broadly speaking, there are 2 or 3 ways that one develops these medicines. And it's super important to understand them, because this is the magic promise. First of all, you have to understand that every medicine works by binding to something else. And by binding, it means that it goes and physically attaches itself with, and that attachment has some physical characteristics or biophysical characteristics, which are based on chemistry and physics.
Which will strengthen it, destroy it, change its behavior.
For instance, yeah. Exactly. So once we know that, we can ask a couple of questions. One is, then, if you know the target that you're trying to attack, you can essentially figure out whether where there's a pocket in that target. So when you identify a pocket, it's like puzzle solving. So just like in a puzzle, you have a little hole and then you have to put a puzzle piece in. How do you put a puzzle piece in? So there are 2 very broad, it's going to be very broad, but 2 very broad ways that AI can help in the puzzle fitting algorithm. So again, think about how a child solves a puzzle. One way a child solves a puzzle is by, let's say a puzzle has, it's almost done, there's one piece that's missing, that's that pocket that you want to target, and there are 1 billion pieces sitting on the side. So what a child does is, generally speaking, she starts fitting the puzzle, and then she tries several times, and then realizes that the puzzle has the missing piece has a certain set of characteristics. It has to have a divot on top and a little hole in the bottom, etc., etc. So she now goes back. So that's being learned. That's a learned property, and that's why AI comes in, is very important. So then she says, okay, I've learned that property, I've extracted that property as a feature, and now I'm going to go back into the many pieces. I'm going to search for that property. I'm going to eliminate 99% of the pieces that don't have the property. I'm going to search for that property. And now I'm going to fit again. And so now I have a much better fit, but I'm still not there yet. So then I learned that, in fact, the ones that are left have most of the properties, but the one thing that's missing is the little hole on top. So I refit, and so forth. So that's one way that you can create a new medicine.
And the interesting thing, of course, is it's not that this is something that humans couldn't do given enough time.
Absolutely.
But what AI is doing is creating maximum efficiency given the extraordinary number of permutations you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also remember that those 1 billion pieces that I talked about, they've also been generated computationally.
Right.
So humans could do it. They would first have to make the 1 billion pieces, and then they would have to find the fit. And absolutely, it's what humans can do. And in fact, that's how we've been making medicines for decades. Yeah. And then there's the most interesting one, the one that we do, and the most interesting variant of all of this. You could have a particularly rascal child who says, you know what, I don't want to play this stupid game. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of paper, and I'm going to cut that piece of paper and make it fit into that puzzle piece. I'm going to put that puzzle piece in. Now, what does that mean in real life? It means that you grow the puzzle piece inside the whole. So you learn the rules, and then you begin to take that puzzle piece and say, I understand the rules of that missing piece. I'm going to start creating candidates. I'm going to forget about the billion pieces. I'm going to start creating candidates that will fit into this puzzle piece.
Which may have never existed before.
May have never existed before. This is true generative chemistry. It is true generative AI and true generative chemistry. And some of those pieces, when a real chemist looks at those pieces, human, looks at those pieces, would say, that just doesn't make any sense.
You mean it doesn't exist? I
can't
identify that thing.
So I can't identify that thing. That's okay. That is not a problem. They would say it couldn't exist because I can't synthesize it. I can't make that piece because the physics of it, the chemistry of it, just won't be made. So you discard those. But by the way, when you discard them, you're telling the AI, the machine,
these are things you shouldn't be looking at to try to create a piece, right?
Exactly.
So once again, you're going through this filtering process of, okay, now I know the kinds of things I could do to generate the piece.
Exactly.
Right.
So what you're doing and so the next time around, it won't generate that piece. It'll generate another version of it. And again, you could say, looks okay, but that end of it doesn't really look great. So the machine will say, okay, I got it. I get you. Next time I make a piece, I'm not going to put that end in. So what I'm trying to emphasize is the scale and power of all of this. In principle, of course, humans could do it. But every time we do this in collaboration with a machine, the machine learns it, and it learns it forever.
Yeah.
You don't need to train a new chemist, a new generation of chemists. The machine will now learn it for eternity.